Welcome everyone to class 4 of the Social Media Management Certification Program. In today's class, we are going to be looking at social media advertising. All right. So let's go through it. So when we're talking about social media advertising, I don't know if you guys remember, I think it was class 1 or class 2. I was explaining that by far the most effective strategy on social media is a paid strategy, right? And if you have deep enough pockets and you can afford to continuously pay for ads on social media, pay influencers, boost posts, etc., you're going to grow pretty quickly, right? There are downsides to that, of course, but still, it's a very effective digital marketing social media strategy. But ads in and of themselves is just lost my train of thought. But ads, sorry, ads on social media are a little bit different from what traditionally what we think of as ads. Not different in terms of the purpose of it, but certainly different in terms of how it is structured, right? And of course, with social media ads, because you have more people on the app, there's a lot more that you can do. The apps are collecting so much information from us on a daily basis. When you sign up, it's tracking every movement that you make, what you watch, what you consume, what you like, who you follow, who your family and friends are. The apps they know just about everything about you that you share with them, and even stuff that you don't share sometimes. You know what I mean? And so, because of the amount of data that these apps have, you can really fine tune your social media advertising to laser target certain a group or certain groups of people. And that's one of the differences between traditional ads and social media ads. But before we get into the differences and similarities and how it works, I always like to start with a definition. So what is social media advertising? Well, social media advertising is a strategy, right? And it's a strategy that allows you to pay for reach, because that's pretty much what you're doing. You're paying to be at the front of the queue or closer to the front of the queue, or you're paying for more visibility, right? Any way you want to look at it. So because there are so many persons on the app, and because it can be so difficult for you to reach your target audience, you're pretty much saying to the app, I will pay you to run ads on here so I can actually get to the people that I need to get you quicker, because certainly it works faster than the organic route, right? So let's look at some key terms here. It's a digital strategy because, of course, social media platforms are digital platforms, right? And when we're talking about a strategy, again, this should be part of your larger marketing strategy, your, social media or your digital marketing strategy. But it's not a random thing. You don't just boost a post here or there because, you want it to get out there. It has to be a part of a larger strategy that you are implementing for a reason. So maybe you may run ads during a social media campaign. You have, for instance, in your assignment, you're opening a new store, right? And so how do you get the most attention quickly? You may want to do a mostly paid social media ads campaign, right? Or a mostly paid social media campaign, meaning that is going to include ads, and you're specifically targeting a certain group of people because you want to get their attention quickly, right? Of course, it's paid means that it's transactional. It's not organic anymore. It's transactional. And you're using it to promote your content, because again, on social media we're really talking about content marketing. And so what you're doing is you're paying to push that content so it becomes more visible. Now you can push a regular piece of content, or you can create content specifically for advertising on social media. and you are paying to reach leads that may already be primed for what it is that you're offering. So for instance, on Facebook, you may have lookalike audiences. That's one of the things that you can do with your Facebook ads, where you can target it to lookalike audiences, which means that Facebook is going to look at the audience you already have, find people that are similar, and then target your ads to them. There are multiple different things that you can do on Facebook to reach people who are already prime for what it is that you have to offer. So you can reach people based on demographics, so age, where they live, maybe the level of education that they have, if they're married or not married, if they have children or don't have children. So you can really micro target these leads, right? And so with social media advertising, I want you to understand the difference between ads and marketing. Because even though social media ads are a part of the larger social media marketing strategy that you're implementing, there's a difference, right? So social media marketing refers to mostly the organic aspect of social media, the content marketing aspect of social media, where you're creating content for social media, or you're attracting user generated content from other users on social media platform. So you're either creating or curating the content, right? And that's organic, right? In other words, you're using content marketing and other non-paid social media strategies to promote your brand or business. Whereas social media advertising now refers to, again, a transactional arrangement where you are paying the platform to push your ad, your content, and what that allows you to do is better target an audience segment. So that's the difference. One is organic and one is not, right? So how does social media ads actually work? Basically, it's targeted messaging to a specific group or groups of people, and the goal is to get them to take a particular action. In fact, in general, social media marketing is targeting messaging, right? Using content to target a certain group of people, to attract them, to get their interest, and then to convert them. And by converting them means you're getting them to take a particular action. But with ads, it is more, I want to say it's more urgent. That's the term I would use, because again, you're running ads because there's something that you're trying to achieve that is more urgent than just posting content. So again, you have a store opening, or you have a new product, or you have a sale, or whatever the reason why you're running a campaign, right? And so now in that instance, you are kind of, wanting to push the information in front of them to quickly attract interest, to then move them into the next phase, which is the decision-making phase, right? And that's where you're getting them to take a particular action. And then that action may lead them to somewhere that you can convert them, like a website or an email list, etc. A successful social media ad, and this is regardless of platform, has 5 main components, right? A defined objective, which is what we just talked about. What is the purpose of running this ad? So I'll give you an example. For a very long time with Digital Jamaica, I didn't run ads. It wasn't necessary for me to grow ads because it was more about community marketing. And community marketing is building a community around your brand, and then building enough goodwill with that community that the community does all the marketing for you. So they're telling people about you, they're sharing your content, they're bringing you into spaces that you couldn't go. And what that does is exponentially expand your reach, your visibility, and that community then can help you attract more people to your platforms, right? But then know that there are other things happening with Digital Jamaica. So there's a live show, there's a podcast, there's an email newsletter, the Digital Insider newsletter, etc. There are no reasons for me, especially because on social media has become so noisy. It is not as easy anymore for users, followers to see your content, right? And so you have to be a little more intentional now about how you are about your social media strategy. And intentional for me meant running ads here and there. And so I will run an ad when I'm doing a live show just to push it out. And it's not even an ad, it's really boosting a post. And there's a slight difference between the two. Well, there's a major difference between the two. And so you're boosting the post so it gets to more of your followers, whereas ads usually is to attract non-followers, persons outside of your audience, right? That's one of the major differences. But I boost posts now. So I have like a $40 a month budget where I am boosting posts over a certain period of time because I want to get this message out quicker, or I want more of my followers to see this because maybe it's an opportunity, maybe it's something that I'm doing, right? So there's always an objective or a reason why. And at the time too, I had a sponsor, and a part of the sponsorship agreement was that we run ads. And so the sponsor would be in the ads, we'd be in the ads. So it's bigger reach for everybody. And that was one of the objectives. So you have to be clear. Long story short, you have to be clear about why you're going to be spending money running ads on social media. What are you trying to do? And then you have to understand, or you have to identify the target audiences that this ad is for, because then you may have different ads targeted towards different people. So at every time you're going to run an ad, you need to first identify the target audience. Who is that ad for? Right? And not only who is it for, what is it that you're trying to say to them? Because this is the thing. And, behavior on social media, digital marketers and marketers in general would have you think that it's just a straightforward thing. It's awareness, it's decision making, it's action. People are complicated. It's never that linear. It's never that straightforward. And so sometimes at the time when your message reach the people, they're like, oh, this is interesting, but they're not yet ready to take that next step. But it's in the back of their mind that when they're ready, hey, I saw this ad a couple months ago. Let me go and check out this person, right? It could be too, and this is documented. People want to be told what to do, but they don't want you to tell them what to do. They want to feel as if it was a decision that they made themselves, which is why when you are creating messaging run an ad, you have to personalize that messaging, kind of like directing it to one person, like you're talking to an audience of one, but really it's a group of people, which is why when we're talking about audience personas, the goal is to identify somebody who personifies your audience. So you're looking at one person in that audience segment who personifies the entire segment. So last week, when in the tutorial session, when we were looking at who would be the audience for Iconic Beauty, right? And we agree that more than likely we agree that Iconic Beauty is a luxury brand, right? And we made a lot of inferrals and assumptions. And the way the assignment is written is to allow you to make those inferences and assumptions, right? And based on the type of service she's offering, based on who she is and what she's doing, more than likely this is going to be a high-end kind of luxury brand, etc. And we talked about who can afford the types of services. And I did say where it comes to where there's an overlap between your target audience and who can afford it, that sweet spot in the middle is your persona group, right? And so when you're talking to that persona group, it's like you're talking to that one person, right? So if we say that the ideal persona for Iconic Beauty is somebody that we know has disposable income, which means they make over a certain amount of money, which probably mean that they live in a certain area, right? More than likely they're either young, sexy, and cute, or rich and married, right? So there's a lot of assumptions that we are making. And the reason why you build out persona, it allows you to make these assumptions, and we call it educated guesses based on the data that you have. The reason why you want to do that is precisely because you want to be able to personalize your messaging. So there's no such thing as an audience of everybody. And even if you are talking to an audience segment that is pretty big, they need to feel like anytime they see the ad, it's speaking to them specifically, right? And that's one of the reasons why you go through the whole rigmarole of identifying an audience segment and then the persona and all that, is because you're trying to get a deeper understanding so you can shape your messaging. So when the right person hears it, it's relatable, it rings bells. It's like dog whistling in a way, right? You also need to understand the right ad type. So before my job now, my full-time job, I was working at a university, right? And this is a university that had a lot. I was working in the marketing department as a university, and I was responsible for their digital marketing. And they are they do a lot of diverse kind of programs, right? And so depending on the program we were running ads for, because with the university it was legit a straight up paid strategy, right? There was organic content, sure, but it was mostly a paid strategy because you need to get the word out that there's a new program or here's a 4-year program or whatever, right? So it was less about building an audience and more about information. And around that information, you can form an audience, but that's for another time. And so depending on what the program was that I was running an ad for on Facebook, it would determine the audience type. And I'll give you an example. So if we are running a program that is not yet on board, so there's a program that's coming in 2024, but right now we're trying to gauge interest in the program, I would run a lead generation ad on Facebook. And a lead generation ad is basically where I can have an in-app form, an ads form. So when you see the ad, you see the programs, you see the information, and then it says sign up. And when you click sign up, it doesn't take you off of Facebook. Right there, a form pops up and you fill in the information into form. And I'm asking you questions like, would you like to be invited to a forum, a virtual information session where we can tell you more about the program? Have you done a similar program before? What is your career? Because we're trying to gauge who would be interested in the program, and how we can get in touch with them. So it's asking for your email, your telephone number, etc. Now, with that lead gen form, what I would then do is create a zap from Zapier, right? And what Zapier allows you to do is automate certain actions and interactions. So once somebody completes that form, a zap occurs, and that person's information get added to a list that I created on MailChimp, right? And so this list is connected to this particular ad. Or it's a general list that we have of leads that we then send to the recruitment team, and the recruitment team will then go through those leads, call the people, convert. That's what they're supposed to do, right? And so we can create these apps for very specific campaigns or very specific programs, etc. So understanding I said all of that to say that it is important that you understand the right ad type, because what sense would it have made for me to then have an ad for a program that has not yet come, and the ad is a web traffic ad, meaning it's sending them to the website to learn more about the program? How am I going to capture their information? How am I going to capture the lead, right? The only other thing I could do is put a UTM code in the link to track where the traffic is coming from to that page, but still, I only know that the web traffic is coming from this Facebook ad. I don't know who these people are. So it makes sense to do the lead generation ad. And so understanding different types of ads that you can do on social media will help you better target people and will help you get a better ROI from your ad strategy. All right. If you have questions about running ads on social media, drop them in the Q&A. Also, with an ad, you need a strong CTA. So going back to the example of me working at the university, it was more than just, oh, we have a new program, check it out. It was connecting that person to whatever the need was that this program was fulfilling. So, for instance, there was a new AI program that came on stream, right? And so instead of saying, oh, we have a new AI program, it's like, listen, in terms of future job prospects, learning AI could give you the best advantage in terms of future job prospects. And so here we have this really awesome new AI program that has a little bit of robotics in it. It's going to be amazing if it is that you want something that's more challenging, but something that is future oriented. And so the CTA then is, take charge of your future. Sign up for the program, at least come to the information session, because I'm asking them about that in the form, right? And so with the CTA it has to touch a nerve with the audience. There has to be something in it that clicks in their mind to go, yeah, I wanna try this, right? Similarly, we had a program for anti-money laundering, right? And that was an international certification. And it's like the CTA was like, this is your next step in your career. Because if you work in law enforcement, or if you work in a career where money laundering and the proceeds of crime act affects your job, then this is a good certification for you to have. And so that's the touch point. That was a touch point in the marketing. It was like, if you're working in any of these fields and this is something that you deal with, getting this certification could next level your career, right? You could become an international expert in this space, and that means more money, blah, 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 blah. So it's how you personalize the message and the CTA that that is a part of the messaging. And the CTA, for persons who don't know, CTA means call to action, the thing that you're trying to get them to do after they've seen the ad, right? And that too, the ad type will inform the type of CTA, because it could be sign up, book now, learn more, download. There are different types of CTA that the platform will give you, but in the caption now, you have to build up to that download. You have to build up to that click link or sign up, or there has to be something in that caption that will make them want to complete the action, which is whatever the CTA is, right? And you also have to understand where is the best place to run your ads. So if you are, for instance, Iconic Beauty has an app, right? There's an app that's a part of the digital service offering. Where would be the best place for you to promote an app? Well, right now, we know that Twitter, when it comes to tech companies and, app downloads, Twitter is really a good place. But that's if you're a tech company. Iconic Beauty is not a tech company. So where else could you go to promote the app? Yeah, you could promote it on Instagram, sure, I suppose, right? But Instagram, remember when we looked at the type of platforms, we said Instagram was a media sharing platform, right? So would a media sharing platform be the best place to promote an app? Maybe not. But then you have traditional networking platforms like LinkedIn and Facebook that gives you more room to expand on things. You can drop a link in a caption that will take them to the app. You have more ways to communicate about this thing, right? And so, again, understanding the right channel and where you can say and do what is important. Understanding the ad space on each channel is important as well. Because if you go on Facebook is not going to ask if you're promoting an app. But if you go on Twitter is going to say, if you're promoting an app, click here. That's an ad type, apps, right? So it is to understand what the ad space on that channel is like and what you can get away with on that channel based on where your audience is, what they're doing, and what they will be most likely to, what action they'll be most likely to take on that platform, right? And of course, your budget, because ads can get expensive very, very quickly. So it is not enough. And then you have to understand too, especially on platforms like Facebook has a system where, say for instance, say you're running an ad for $500, right? Over a 7-day period. Facebook has this process of learning. They have this, so your ad goes to a couple stages. The learning stage, so it's learning your audience, learning your ad type, kind of with the data in the background to see what similar ads did and how it performed, and then based on the parameters that you set, it will start running the ads. But you will notice that it's in the last couple of days of the ads that it really starts picking up because of that process that your ad goes through on Facebook. And so you have to learn how to distribute that $500 over the 7 days, because then otherwise you're wasting money in the first couple of days when it's still in the learning phase. The ad is still live, but it's still in the learning phase, which means it's not being pushed out to as many people as it should be pushed out to. And so in the first couple of days, you'll waste a ton of money. And then the majority of the rest of the ad is on the balance of what is left, which may not get you a large audience because the budget is now lower. Let me explain. That don't make any sense. Okay. So because you have $500 over the 7-day period, the ad will start running, but there's a learning phase that the ad goes through to understand your audience, all of that good stuff. But money is still being spent during that learning phase. For every click or, money is being spent. Yes, but it may not be spent on the right audience because the ad is still learning your audience type. So by the time the ad learn your audience type and your fee say, yes, okay, no, you're reaching the right people, your money dwindle down and you don't have a lot of it left. And remember, it's a bidding system. So you are competing with other people for the same audience. And if your money lower than the other people, they're going to get preference to you. And so it can be very tricky when you're running these ads, especially on Facebook meta ads, right? You have to be very careful how you're allocating. And so instead of doing like a $500 in 7 days, you might do less and break that ad up over a couple. Instead of doing 1 7-day run, you might do 3 days, go back in, tweak the ad, do our next 3 days, tweak the ad. And so you're breaking it up into smaller chunks, right? And that has its own problems too. But if you want to make sure that you stay on budget, that's probably the best way to do that. Unfortunately, in this program, we really don't have the time to really deep dive into ads. And so there isn't, it's not like I can, go in and kind of show you really. But I will make sure that in the reading resources, I put a lot of information and videos that you can go and watch, right? So let's look at the time. Let me pause here quickly. Let me pause and look at some of your questions. What is the appropriate ad spend for starting a business, like a budget per platform or total? What is the recommend? Oh, that's a lot of questions, Angela, that all I can say is depends, and it depends on a lot of things. Depends on a lot of things. IG, Facebook, YouTube. Okay, so I see one question in the Q&A. What's your take on Google Ads? They're highly effective if you do it right. And Google gives you every opportunity to get it right. Like, for instance, with a Google ad, when you actually go into Google, the Google Ads, Google has an entire system built out to help you get the best performance on your ad. For instance, when you go in, depending on the type of ad you have, Google allows you like 3 different videos for the one ad, like 3 different videos, like 10 different images, 10 different descriptions, And this is because they do like a A/B testing thing where they run the different ones and see which one is the most effective, and then they run more of that one. And so they have multiple different ad sets that they can pull from to run ads to make sure that you're getting one, the most bang for your buck, and that your ads are as effective as possible. Google has perfected online ads as far as I'm concerned. And I find that, it's money worthwhile, but it's expensive. It is expensive. If you want good results, you're going to have to dash out some money. Like, seriously, it's expensive. Not to say that you can't get further, with a lower budget, but again, it's a bidding system. And if you're bidding for a same audience or audience that is popular, the more money you spend to reach the audience is the more you're going to reach that audience. The lower your budget, because it's a bidding system, right? I don't see any other questions in the Q&A or in the chat, so I'm going to jump right back in. Ramona says conversion is a sticky part. Likes and following are not sales. Girl, listen, right now I am writing an article because I tell you guys I have a newsletter, and over on the newsletter, I am the biggest social media conspiracist you can think of, right? So right now I'm doing a series called Social Media Exit, and I'm talking about the reasons why you should not put all your eggs in the social media basket. And what I'm actually researching and writing about now, and that's going to come out tomorrow, shameless plug, is the fact that social media now is not going to give you the best ROI. And the reason, my rationale for that is that TikTok is the cause of it. Because listen, we'll talk about that in the tutorial. I want to get to the lesson, but TikTok is the reason why we're getting low ROI on all social media platforms. TikTok has messed the game up for everybody. And it's because they've perfected the art of the social media algorithm, what we call doom scrolling. They've perfected it, and other platforms are now moving into what we call an interest graph algorithm. And that is based mostly on discoverability. But the trade-off is, yes, you can become more discoverable, and yes, you'll have higher engagement, but higher discoverability and engagement on the platform, not off the platform, because people are going to be less willing to click off the platform to go to your other spaces where they can convert you, hence low conversion. So that's my argument. I will share the link with you guys tomorrow when I post the essay. All right. Let's jump back in and to look at types of social media ads. Okay. Hold on. Yes, I did. Okay. Let's quickly go into it. So there are different types of social media ads, as I would have alluded to earlier, right? And these are referred to creatives, ad creatives. And it's essentially a combination of the copy, which is, the message, that thing that you put in the caption, the visuals, so your photos, your images, your videos, your GIFs, your even audio, right? So it's a mix of the all of these things that we call your ad creative. So the ad type, the message, the graphics, the CTA, all of those things, right? So depending on the platform you're using, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Oh, LinkedIn ads are expensive. Oh my God. LinkedIn, Twitter, etc. The ad format will change, right? So remember earlier I said that if you're trying to run an ad on Twitter, one of the types of ad you can run is for apps, right? To get more downloads for your apps. Whereas you won't find that on, let's say, maybe on LinkedIn, I don't remember, but you won't find that on Facebook or Instagram, right? So let's look at some popular types of ads. So we have photo ads, and these are static images, usually featuring a single high quality image with a longer, more engaging copy, or sometimes with a text on the image, except Facebook don't really like, Meta in general don't really like text on images if it's too many texts. And if it's too many texts, they're going to tell these too many texts that your ad is not going to perform very well, right? So here's an example of a photo ad. So you see that there's minimal text on the ad, high quality graphic, strong call to action, and in this instance, though, the CTA, the copy is not very long. Create a goal driven, and the reason why the copy is not long is because this person is already known within the space. She's already known within that long. She's already known within the space, so people know her face, knows what she does, and so it's less convincing. There's less. It's easier to convert people because they already know who she is, right? So you don't need to go into this long. Next ad type are video ads. So these are 15 to 60 second attention grabbing video, usually focused on a single product or service, or with a simplified message for instant, quicker impact. Again, this is, and I'm using Domestika because Domestika, nobody runs ads like Domestika, okay? And so this is an example. Is it clickable? Yeah, watch this. Still very minimal text in the ad. Very straightforward, very clear. Very straightforward, like 17 seconds. That entire thing was 17 seconds because with an ad, first of all, people's attention span already short on social media. But then again, you don't want this long, drawn out ad thing. I mean, this is not an infomercial. You're really just trying to get them to click on something, right? Carousel ads. Now, carousel ads happen to be one of my favorite ad types. So it's multiple video or multiple static images in one ad set, allowing you to give your audience more visual information about a product or service. And the reason why I like carousel ads is because you can stretch your ad story over more graphics. So instead of just one image, you can have multiple images that's like telling a story or creating a visual for your ad. And I think that's pretty cool. Here's another one from Ad World Conference. Now, these are GIFs. They're not even videos, they're GIFs, right? And it is just showing you the different streams for their upcoming conference. And this makes sense because if you have, this is one event that they're promoting, but there are different streams that they're having in one event, right? Or tracks, what they call tracks, right? And so if I want to entice you to come to the event, I want to show you all the different things that we're going to be talking about to get interested. So we're going to be talking about the metaverse, copywriting. We're going to be talking, and then within the copywriting, what are the different tracks within that? So there's so much information that they're giving you here in just a couple carousel GIFs, right? Bang for your buck, I think. And here, this is another example of a carousel ad. So ASOS is promoting the different brands that they carry under ASOS. And so what it is that they're showing you different things, the different brands with the outfits, etc. So again, this is just a good way to show off multiple different facets of the one thing in one ad instead of multiple different ads, right? And of course, when you click, it takes you directly to that product. Then you have story ads, right? And these are image or video ads displayed in the story format. Now you have reels, right? Where your ads can show up in reels. And it can be vertical. And if it's a vertical ad, if it looks like the proper formatting for a story, it's going to be less disruptive. The experience is going to be less disruptive, because imagine you're swiping your Instagram stories and an ad pop up. Unless you're really looking, you're not really realizing that it's an ad, because it's the same formatting. But if you're running a standard 1-by-1 post, essentially you post something on Instagram, or you're running a ad that is a standard square, which is the 1-by-1, if that then shows up in your stories, you're automatically going to know that it's an ad because of the dimensions of it, right? So this is an example of a Bluehost ad. This was on Instagram. So if you notice, they have the vertical formatting. So, and sometimes this is how you know that this ad was specifically made for that format type. So you know that they specifically, when they were creating the ad sets for this ad, they created one for stories, they created one for reels, they created one, and so it takes more work, but it makes your ad a lot more seamless, right? This, that it was just a video post that they posted, going back a little bit so you can see this, that it was just a video post that they posted. And of course, one of the selections was that they wanted it to be shown as a story ad, because then you can dictate where your ad show up, right? So these are just the different types of story ads. So you see the full format one, and you see the square ones, right? And so those are the different types of ad formats that you have. And then let's talk about the benefits. Let me pause here again to see if there are any questions about that. Would an influencer can be considered as an ad? It's paid promotion. So it's not an ad, but it's a paid or sponsored post or sponsored promotion, if that's the question. Any questions about the different ad types that we just went through just now? Anything that you want me to go over or clarify? I see 2 raised hands. Angel, was your hand up or? No? Okay. Samantha, go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It's not so much a question, just a point. When you mentioned about the vertical versus the horizontal, I've seen us influencer do ad before where the ad starts out as vertical, and then they would put a graphic that says flip your screen or go horizontal in 3, 2, 1, and then at the end of that countdown graphic, then it switches to horizontal mode. So then you would have to switch your phone to view it better.
I mean, that's just that's stylistics, I think, more than anything else. But yeah, and it's for engagement as well. Okay. Ad buying, I don't think refers to social media. I admit I don't know anything about it, but I don't think it refers to social media. Devanish? Devanish?
Yes, you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you now.
Yes. In regards to horizontal, would it be more profitable when it's marketing to the persons on social media in
I don't know
angle?
I don't know if it's more profitable. It's just less disruptive, which means it's more seamless.
Okay.
And because it's more seamless, when you're scrolling through and you're looking through and you see ads pop up, you get aggravated and annoyed, right?
Yes.
But if it's more seamless, you are going to spend more time viewing the ad because it doesn't look like an ad. And that's kind of the trickery. That's the whole point, right? To make it look less like an ad, so you can get more people viewing it, because the longer you are viewing the ad, it is the more you're increasing the chances that the person viewing the ad will complete the action, which is to click on something or do something. So you want to get them watching the ad for the entire duration of the ad, right? Or you want to get them reading the caption or whatever, and then you want them to take the action. So the less it looks like an ad is the more they're going to interact with it, because now it's not disrupting their experience on the platform. So that's the argument over, as to why it works better. I don't know how much I agree with that, because I think it depends on the platform. Because a YouTube ad is a YouTube ad is a YouTube ad, and they're all annoying. You know what I mean? So it depends on the platform. I think with YouTube, people are now, not that they're okay with seeing ad, but because they're used to it by now. But on social media platforms where it's more social, remember, YouTube is not a social media platform, although it have social media features. It's a search engine, right? And so that's where the annoyance comes in, because how
four ads back of each other. That's
are you
very
talking to
annoying.
me, Devonish?
Yes, I'm saying YouTube put 4 ads back at each other.
Sometimes, yes, but that's a different experience on YouTube than it is on Instagram. 4 ads back to back on Instagram, I'm going to click off the app, because that's that will get me off the app. But on YouTube, I wait on the 5 seconds and then I click off, because there's something that I want to watch, and I'm willing to go through that to watch it, right? As well, if I'm watching YouTube on my browser, I can put on an ads blocker and just block all those ads from YouTube. So it depends on the platform. All right, let's jump back in, guys. Could you reshare, guys? Use the Q&A, because it stops me from having to go to the chat to scroll in to see your questions. Use the Q&A. Carissa, please. Thank you. Could you reshare how you had used the Zapier integration from the lead gen ad into your mail listing? Also, was this a free feature of Zap? Girl, there's a video I have on Digital Jamaica channel talking about how I use Zapier for Digital Jamaica. You can watch that, but it's difficult to get into it here, because then I'm gonna have to explain to you how to use Zapier and blah. But somebody asked me in the newsletter, because in the newsletter there's a segment that says "Ask Me Anything." And in that segment, you can ask me any question and I will write about it or create a video tutorial about it. And so somebody asked me to do a video tutorial on Zapier. And so I'm going to do a video tutorial on Zapier and try to get it out on Saturdays, because Saturdays is when I put out how-to videos and video tutorials in the newsletter. So if you're interested in that, you can go sign up for the newsletter. Shameless plug. Okay, so I will do a video tutorial on Zapier, so you can look out for that. But it's kind of difficult for me to explain Zapier in here. But what I can tell you is that you can use it to automate. So what you can do is you can actually integrate Facebook. You can create a Zap between Facebook and MailChimp. And the additional thing that we did was that it also populated a Google spreadsheet. So we'll have an entire spreadsheet of all the leads, and then it goes to MailChimp. So it was a Zap between Facebook, Google spreadsheet, and MailChimp. Somebody had asked me to do a how-to on Zapier. I already did one very briefly when I was talking about how to automate your small business with AI. There's a video on my channel talking about that. Well, I'll do one more dedicated to Zapier. Hopefully it will come out this Saturday if I have time. Hopefully. All right, let's jump back into it. And that Zapier was between Airtable, Google Spreadsheets, and MailChimp. All right. So let's talk about benefits of social media advertising, right? It's increased awareness, of course, because you're pushing you're paying for more visibility. So more visibility means more awareness, right? You can refine your targeting. We talk about personalized messaging, more qualified leads. Guys, this is one of the most important things. So with that ad, going back to that example, we're talking about the lead generation form for the university. One of the reasons too why that was important was, again, we were trying to generate leads, because then what we would do is put all these people into one big leads list. So of course, we're segmenting them because we want to know what they clicked on to get into our leads list. But now, every time a new program comes out, they get an email to say, hey, we have a new program come out. And the beauty about it is they gave us their information, which is why it's called a qualified lead. It's qualified because they voluntarily gave you I'm sorry, guys. I'm on the lookout for the Devanos ice cream truck scoops. And so every noise I hear and every blowing, I stop because they've been ducking and diving me for the last couple of weeks. Okay. So that's what makes the leads qualified. They voluntarily give you their information, and so you can extend the communication. And because we're in continuous dialogue and communication with them, we get a good turnout every time we have an information session, or it's easier to convert them over a period of time, right? Because they're all social media now in your email list. Higher conversion rates because they're all social media now in your email list, and you can now nurture those leads. So in MailChimp, if you have the paid version, you can do a drip campaign. So what we would do is we would have a drip campaign. And so because we have general ads that we would run, just general ads about the university. And that leads to the big lead gen list, right? People who are interested in the university. And so we'd have a drip campaign for each new person that comes in. So the first email is, hey, these are all the awesome things about this university. Yeah, look out for more information. And then they'll get a series about 4 or 5 emails over the time, right? And that's kind of the we automate that introduction and nurture process, because they don't get them back to back. It's spaced out, right? And there's a reason why they space out the way they're spaced out, and each of them is saying different things. So, and all of them is encouraging them to go to the website to check out more information, to look at this, to look at that, right? And that is one of the reasons too why conversion rates tend to be extremely high when it comes to email marketing and newsletters. And it's faster growth for the very reason we just said, right? When should you run social media ads? Ooh, that's a good one, because there's no right or wrong answer to this. But logically speaking, it's to ensure that you're reaching your audience, right? And so you run ads when you have some kind of urgent messaging you want to get out. Again, a new launch, a new product, a new something, emergency information, something, right? Or again, if you have the pocket, you can just run ads because you want it to get to your target audience. You can just continuously run ads, and grow your platform. There's this lady on social media, and I cannot for the life of me remember her name. She's one of them grow from love, peace kind of people, but she's a psychiatrist, doctor or something. And every now and again, I would see an ad pop up from her where it's just a boosted post, right? But the strategy that this lady had was ingenious, because like every third or fourth post, she runs an ad on the third. Okay. I'm trying to make this make sense. So, on your Instagram, it's a carousel style feed that you have, right? If you go on your profile, it's 3 blocks, 3 blocks, 3 blocks, 3 blocks in that blocks carousel style. Not carousel, that block feed style. So she will post 4 posts, and then she'll run an ad on the first in that set of 4 or 3 that you post. And so you're seeing an older post But the trick is when you go to her profile, there are now 3 more recent posts that you can look at. And that way she's keeping you engaged on the platform. And I thought that was genius. That makes sense. Am I making sense to you guys? That makes sense what I just said? Grid. Yes, grid. What I just said makes sense to you guys? Tell me. It doesn't make sense. No. Okay. All right then. All right. Let me see if I can. All right. Because I want you to guys to see this because I think it's genius. Hold on. Remember bring up Instagram. Remember bring up Instagram to show you what I'm talking about. All right then. Let me go to my profile and let me start sharing the screen again. Come on. Okay. So let me share my screen again. All right. So this is your Instagram feed, grid style, right? So say I posted 1, 2, 3 posts, right? I would run an ad on this one because this one is the first of the 3 that I post, because all of the ones to your right are the first ones, because how your grid stay, it starts here and then it goes this way, starts here, goes this way, starts here, goes this way. So this post here, so with my big face, would be the first post I post in this series of 3. Make sense? Good. So I would run an ad on this big face post, this one. And when you come and look at this one, when you come out of it and go to my feed, there are 2 other posts for you to look at. And so I have posts behind me and in front of me for you to look at, which keeps you engaged on my profile. Sometimes she would run this post, the 6th one, she would run it. And so now you have 5 other posts to look at in front of that one, because it's more likely that people are going to go forward instead of backward unless they're really interested. But going forward means that they're now consuming your content, you're grabbing their interest, and now when they reach this one here, so and it done, they're not going to go back. You guys understand now what I'm saying? I thought that was genius. It makes sense now, guys. Miss, you can go to slideshow, then click set up slideshow. Listen, Zoom is not my platform, and I'm going to tell you the honest truth. It's a chat method. Yes, it keeps you engaged on her profile, and I think it's extremely smart. I think it's extremely smart. It's not that it automatically works like that. It's just human behavior. If something grabs your interest, you're going to want more of it. And so if she has fresher content for you to look at, you're going to look at the fresher content first. And then when you run out of fresh content, what you're going to do, you're going to go look at all content now to see. It's the same thing with TikTok. A TikTok come up on your FY For You page, right? And oh, you like it, it's funny, whatever. The first thing you're doing is click on the thing and see what the latest post from that post is. So, and this is why TikTok has that thing where, you know, when you look at a post and you go on the profile, you can click it and it takes you directly to that post that you just looked at. You know why they do that? For this exact reason. Because what are you going to do? You're going to go look at the last thing they post and go forward. You're not going to go back until you run out of forward to go. Then you're going to go back. It's genius. It's genius. Oh, in PowerPoint. No, yeah, I could do that. That's a thanks, Latoya. You get it now, guys? You get it now? And this lady was doing this from before I noticed it on TikTok. I think she's genius for that. Anyways, let's yeah, I think that was a really good strategy. And every time I think about, you know, that she comes to mind. But for the life of me, I cannot remember what this lady, I can never remember her name. All right. So the more social media become a walking Times Square billboard, because that's really what it becomes. Again, I argue that when social media comes out of, when the social media algorithm is less about social graph and more about interest graph, and the difference between social graph and interest graph is this: an algorithm that's based on a social graph is connecting you to people that is already within your social circle. Friends, family, friends of family, friends of friends of friends. And it's just a concentric circle from that social circle, right? So starting with friends and family, and then their friends and family, and their friends and family. So it's a network of your social circle. And that's why it was boring. That's why it was boring. And that's why in my previous article, I said 2023 users of social media would not like early 2000s social media with a chronological feed, because it was more about social grafting. And now you're trapped into a space of only people you know who know people who know people who know people. And so Instagram kind of broke that mold and is like, okay, we're going to do a mix of social graphing, which is who you know and who you want to follow, or who you follow, and a mix of who we think you may also want to know, hence the explore page and ads, right? But then TikTok came was like, nah, strictly interest based. We're strictly basing it on what you are interested in. Yeah, you have followers, that's nice, but it's more about who, the type of content that the person who's scrolling at that immediate time is interested in. And if you pay keen attention to TikTok, if you stay on one piece of content too long on TikTok, if a piece of content pop up on your FYP and you watch the full content, then go to that person's page and watch more content, watch over the next couple of videos if it's not going to be similar or like content from similar or like creators. Because the genius about TikTok's algorithm is that it's discoverability in real time. It adjusts itself as you watch it within the same watch period. So if I am on TikTok for an hour and I am watching different things, it's just going to keep throwing up. Every time I switch to something else, the algorithm adapts. And now other platforms are starting to do that. And so now it's becoming more of a discoverability, hence interest graph type of algorithm, which means that it is just going to continuously send a wave of strangers to your platform who, one, may not get you or may not like your humor or like your content. And now it's easier to cancel you because they just don't get you because they're not your people. Again, I think that leads to low conversion. These are some of the arguments I make because these are some of the things I see happening on a platform. Tell me if that makes sense. Does that make sense to you guys? It makes sense in my mind. So you're getting more visibility, you know, but it's more about the quantity than the quality when you're talking about discoverability. Discover first algorithms or algorithms based on interest graphs. It's more about engagement and visibility and less about quality of engagement. Because now you have a ton of people seeing your content that you cannot convert. Guess why? They don't care about you and your content. They just watch it and haha and then moved on. They're not your community. So it's harder to get them to do things. Guys, I'm writing a really bomb essay. Y'all should read it. Okay. Anyways, moving on. Tell me if it makes sense to you guys though. And this is why I say you shouldn't put all your money in the social media basket, and social media should only be your top of funnel strategy. Right? Social media ads are extremely competitive because most of them use the bidding system that we talked about, right? And the businesses, and as I said before, the businesses that have the bigger ads budget will see more success using a paid strategy because they have deeper pockets. And again, if we're bidding for this attention of the same audience, if you can give me more money to show you this audience, guess who I'm going to show the audience to? And that's just how it is. It's a business. Social media platforms are businesses. They care less about your ROI and more about generating revenue from the ads, right? And so you have to bear that in mind and kind of be strategic about how you're running ads. If you're a new or small business with little to no money to spend on ads, how can you take advantage of ads to grow your business? You have to develop a growth plan. How are you going to grow your platform in 2023? It's difficult. And the funny thing about it is you have to circumnavigate. It's a circuitous thing where sometimes you don't start with social media, but social media becomes a part of that satellite that you're building to traffic people to your platforms. Sometimes you don't necessarily start with social media. Depending on the type of business will also determine where social media should fall. But generally speaking, social media, in my opinion, is a top of funnel strategy. It's where the awareness comes in. It's where the visibility comes in. It is not going to be where they make a decision to patronize you. It is not going to be where you convert. Okay? In my opinion. So you need to develop a plan. How are you going to build social media? How are you going to become visible on social media? How are you going to turn that visibility into interest? How are you going to turn that interest into relevance? Once you become relevant, where are you going to traffic these people to so you can then turn that relevance into influence and that influence into a sale? That's what you need to think through, right? You also, in my opinion, have to build an organic base. You see, if you start out with a base that was just paid strategy, which means there's an add them, say, and click, because this is the thing. Sometimes people don't remember why they follow you. Sometimes because they see an ad and they thought, oh, this is, and they follow you at the time. And then you don't hear from them or see them again because they didn't follow you because it was a genuine interest necessarily. I mean, sure, I will grab you for different reasons. But if they're searching and come across, it's a different thing than if you just pop up all unannounced on their page. That's the difference between outbound and inbound marketing, right? Inbound marketing sticks better because it's them going to find you because they want what it is that you have to offer, right? Whereas outbound is more this big mass thing where you're just chucking money at it and pushing it out to everybody with the hopes that people will be interested. And so the more organic a base you can build is the more loyalty and trust I think you can and goodwill you will build, and the more and the longer those people will stick around to see it through. Does that make sense? Tell me if that makes sense. Community marketing, I swear on community marketing, I bet on community marketing every single time. In my mind, it is the most effective, sustainable growth strategy on any platform, bar none, whether traditional or non-traditional. Why? Because you are depending on the goodwill, loyalty, and reciprocity of your community to grow. And when I'm saying rising tides carry all ship, you grow, they grow. And that's the reciprocity there. You give them value, they give you value. And it's your community that dictates what value means, not external gatekeeping people. It's the community. And with a community, you can insulate your business against a lot of negativity on social media, a lot of attempts at canceling, all of these, the mess and you can insulate your business from that with a strong, active, defined community, because that's another thing I'm arguing, that with discovery first algorithms, it's difficult for you to define your community because your community is so nebulous. With each new interest a member of your community have, it takes you further away, it takes that person further away from your content, because that's the nature of the platforms now, right? And so having an organic community base means that they're always going to come back and find you. That's one of the biggest pluses of your organic community. It's more difficult to build a community on social media these days for the reasons that I just talked about with the algorithm specifically. And so again, this is another reason why social media needs to be at the top of your funnel, and you're building off social media communities. Like we talked about discussion forums and blog channels, and so you remember we talked about Substack and Medium, and so people use these platforms as a way to build community off social media, and there are platforms that you can use that are specifically made for community, where you can build your communities on. Email list is a community that you're building there. So there are multiple different ways that you can build a community, starting with social media, right? So you can advertise to boost organic efforts is what that is supposed to say, right? So sprinkling ads here and there in your strategy can help to boost your efforts, your content marketing efforts. Of course, influencer marketing too. If you're a smaller business, influencer marketing works. And sometimes influencer marketing is not necessarily about, an exchange of money. It could be an exchange of in kind. So I would say if you are a small business and there's a next small business that has a complementary service to you, you two could collaborate to promote each other's stuff. We call it cross promotion, right? A smaller influencer who's coming up to may be more inclined. And this is the thing. I saw a video recently on social media where the lady was talking about, these people with 2,000 followers talking about, welcome back to my channel. And people really got on her for that, because they're like, everybody has to start from somewhere. But let me tell you, during COVID, micro influencers ate food. Okay. They ate almost all of the food. Right? So micro influence is a thing. So it's just about making sure that there's alignment between this person and your brand, especially if it's a niche brand that has the audience that you want for your niche product. Try influencer marketing. I said that already. Create an ads budget, right? Okay. Digital goals, business goals, and digital objectives. Now, this is from my digital marketing slide. So you will see a lot of references to, you'll see a lot of references to digital marketing. Okay. Also, this information is in your assignment templates. Let's skip through this. Identifying business goals. So what are business goals? These are the things that you want to achieve within a framework, right? They're more specific than your overall mission statement and fall under the umbrella of your business plan. Having clear business goals that are attainable and time-bound and specific and all of those good things allows you to orient your company in the right direction as you grow, right? And so that's where the whole theory of SMART goals come from. So it's not a matter of this ad hoc. First of all, let me just say, your business goals should come from your business plan. Yeah. And you're supposed to be, and even if you have an ultimate goal that you're trying to reach. So say the ultimate goal from your business is to grow it to a certain point and then sell it. That may be an ultimate goal, right? But within that, there are other things that you want to do. So in order not to overwhelm yourself, what you do is you break that down into smaller, more manageable, more specific objectives that you're tackling that will get you to your ultimate goal. So the whole idea of SMART goal setting is that you are taking those big goals, breaking them down into objectives, and then from those objectives now you're going to parse out very specific things that you're going to do, the metrics that you're going to use to make sure that you're staying on track and that you're on the right path. You are going to make sure that these objectives that you are setting is things that you can attain or achieve, and that will help you achieve the goal that you're setting, but that this objective is a part and parcel of. You're going to also ensure that these objectives are in alignment with that goal, so it has to be relevant, and that it's time-based. So it makes no sense you give yourself a goal that you can achieve at any time, because then what would be the impetus or the motivation for you to actually achieve the goal? So putting a reasonable time limit on those goals, or a realistic time limit on those goals to bring it to an end date so you can then move on to another set of things, right? So what are SMART goals? Well, SMART is an acronym. So the S in SMART stands for specific. And when you're thinking about it, it's what is the exact thing or things that I am trying to accomplish? The M is for measurable. And it's talking about the KPIs and metrics that you're going to use. How do you know that you are on track? How are you going to measure to see if you're on track? So metrics and key performance indicators, right? The A is for achievable, and it's really trying to bring you into the realm of reality, right? How realistic is your goal based on constraints that you have identified in your business? So you may not have time. So several persons since the beginning of this program have dropped out or withdrawn from the program, right? Why? Because they had set a goal for themselves that was not reasonable. Because then if you work a full-time job and you're at work during the day, during the course time, plus you have group assignment, you have a lot of responsibilities. Taking on another responsibility may not be achievable at this time. So you have to think to yourself, how realistic is this thing that I am trying to do within the constraints of what I can do right now? As a small business, what are some of the constraints you have? Monetary constraints, time constraints. You have constraints in terms of labor constraints, family. You may have a full 9 to 5. So within those limitations, what can you achieve? And then, is it relevant? How does this fit in with your larger goals, your overarching goals, your statement, your vision, your mission? How does it fit into those things, right? And lastly, when do you want to achieve this by? What's the timeline that you are giving yourselves within which to achieve this thing that you are setting yourself up to do, right? So that's what SMART goals are. Now let's talk about aligning your goals with your objectives. You don't develop a strategy in a vacuum. And I harp on this all the time, guys, because people just build a social media strategy, but your social media strategy has to be anchored in something solid. And that something solid is your business plan. What is it that you are doing? How you're going to do it? Where you're going to do it? How you're going to get it to market? How are you going to market it? How are you going to generate sales? All of these things are things that you need to consider. Your marketing will only be successful if it is made based on your ability to make informed decisions and to take necessary actions to drive results that will positively impact your business outcomes. What am I saying? You have to have relevant current information at hand that will enable you to make an informed decision, because now you have all the facts, you have all the data, or enough data or enough facts, so you can make a decision based on information, right? And that data over time will guide how you do things. It will guide how you market. It will guide where you go, and so you can drive results that will impact your business positively. It cannot be just random guesses, is what I'm trying to say, right? So the top-down approach is that you start with your goals, what you would like to achieve and by when. And then from those goals, you're building out a strategy, the logical argument that positions you with an advantage. Pretty much, what are the things that you can do to get to that goal? The strategy, and how you're going to do it, and where you're going to do it, and the tactics that you're going to employ, right? And that's the next thing, tactics, the actions you will take to fulfill the strategy so you can achieve the goal. So that's the top-down approach: goal, strategy, tactics. So from these goals that you're identifying, I want to make $20 million in the first quarter. So for instance, Iconic Beauty. You want to make 20, Dr. Bowen comes to you and say, well, team, because she's now talking to our marketing and sales team, we want to make $20 million by the end of, let's say, the second quarter. And that would be September 2024, right? Now, each person in that team, the marketing person, the social media person, the salesperson, has a role to play in the team achieving that goal. So as a social media marketing person, what can you do to help marketing, to help sales, to help whosoever get to that goal? Well, what you talk about on social media, your brand awareness effort, your visibility efforts, your community building, your engagement, your web trafficking, all of these things you have to think about as a social media person, right? How are you going to, what can you do within your own zone? Don't think about sales, don't think about marketing. What can you do as a strategy person, as a social media marketing person, that can help them get to their goal? Because that's you're playing within a team, right? So your efforts on social media market and social media, and the marketing people efforts with PR and traditional media will help generate leads for the salespeople them, and then it's up to them to convert. So that's how you really think about it. So from these overarching goals, now you're thinking, okay, let's look at the strategy. Where am I going to build my presence? Where am I going to establish my presence online? And after I establish my presence, what it is that I want people to know about this business that would get them to, that would drum up interest in that business. And now that I've drum up interest, how do I make this relevant to them? How do I bring home that messaging to them that this is for you, right? And then after that, how do I influence them to make decisions, right? And not only that, when do I do these things? When do I employ these different actions and tactics, right? So when do I run a campaign, a social media campaign? When do I do a giveaway? When do I do a live? When do I post content? All of these things are very strategic moves that you have to make to ensure that you are playing your part in that larger team to help push that goal forward, right? But then you have the bottom-up approach. The tactics has to align to the goal. So you start with the tactics, the actions that you will take to fulfill the strategy and succeed, right? And then those actions come together to form the strategy. And then that strategy should lead back to your goal. So to be honest, either way you take it, the whole point is to get to the goal, right? It's just that you're starting with a series of actions first that will dictate a strategy and a goal. That doesn't make sense to me, particularly. I think the top-down approach makes more sense. But either way, you're still trying to get to the goal, because this is the thing. There's some things that you can do that you must do outside of a strategy to get to your goal, even if you're a social media person. Like, let me give you an example. I'm telling you this. Look at, like, for instance, your marketing team is having a pop-up somewhere, right? As a social media person, you may have to go to that pop-up to capture images and videos and stuff, capture content that you can then use in your social media thing. That's a tactic that you are going to have to do. And it may not be as clearly defined in your strategy as to how you're going to get content. In your strategy, you're talking about the type of content you're going to produce and the subject matter, the topics. When we talk about your topic cluster and your content pillars, that is what you have in your strategy. But you have to do things to capture the content. You have to set up recordings, you have to record people, you have to go to places and events and do all of these different things, especially if as a content manager or if as a social media manager, you're also the content manager or the content creator, right? So in a way, it makes sense. But to me, the top-down approach makes more sense because it's just more streamlined and it's more logical for me. So that's how you align your goals with your objectives. It has to be anchored in something, right? And a part of that too is when you're sitting there thinking, okay, this is what I want to achieve, $20 million by the second quarter. Okay. How do I know that I'm on track to 20 million? You can say, well, you can track sales. Sure, yeah. But sales track sales. How do you know that you are on track for the objectives that you're setting? So say, for instance, one of the things that you think you can do on social media to help generate leads to get to that $20 million sale is try to convert people over to an email list or try to get people to download the app. So you have your app download rate, right? You have, I forgot what they call it when, people stay on the app. So people can download the app, but don't use it very often. So you have that conversion metric as well, where you're looking at how many people download the apps, how many people use it. So when you hear they talk about active users, active monthly users, active daily users, stuff like that, those are metrics that you can measure, right? And those metrics will tell you, okay, because then you have to do the math. If for every 100 downloads, you get 20 sales, how many of those 20 sales do you need to get $20 million? So you can literally do the math, right? And so from working backwards from that, you can then determine how much people you need to push to the app, how much leads you need to generate to get to that $20 million worth of sales. Make sense? Tell me if that makes sense, right? And so you have to be able to, you have to know your numbers, and you have to know the data, and that data will inform you. Again, you need the information to be able to inform your actions, because then if you're saying, okay, my KPI this month, the key performance indicator for the first quarter is that 20,000 people downloaded the app and we have an average daily use of 5,000. Because you know that you can convert that 5,000 into 20 sales or 150 sales or 10% of that 5,500 sales, right? 10% of 5,500. My math's not good enough. Jesus. Yeah. Right? And so you can do that math and you can then set those KPIs and metrics. So the metrics would be, because there's a difference between metrics and KPIs. So in this instance, the metrics would be how many people can I get to click the link that will take them to the place where they need to download the app? So that's a metric you're looking at. That's what you call click-through rate. So you have a goal to, or a goal, to get people, to get 10,000 people to click that link over a certain period of time. Because you know that if you can maintain a high click-through rate, chances are you're going to maintain a high lead gen rate, right? Because now you can convert them. Once they're on the app, it's easier to convert them because they would have already taken qualified steps. They voluntarily went and they clicked on the link, they downloaded the app, them sign up with them information. They're voluntarily giving you information that you can use to retarget or to streamline your targeting, right? So your metric is the click-through rate, your social media metrics is the click-through rate, and then your KPI is active daily use of X amount of people, X amount of download, active daily use, or they call it daily active use, DAU, and MAU, monthly active use. So those would be your KPIs, your key performance indicators, because if you can keep your daily active users at a certain number, then you can keep your conversion rate steady. Make sense? Let me know if it makes sense. So the specific marketing metrics are a fundamental part of your strategy because, again, you're relying on data to help streamline the goals and marketing objectives to achieve those goals, right? So on this end, we have a graphic. On the right-hand side, we have a graphic. And it kind of takes you through that cycle, right? That buyer's journey. Except, I'm a little bit wary of these funnels because the thing is, people are not linear. Their behavior is not linear. As I said, they may come across your brand at a time where they either just bought the thing that they were looking for that your brand is selling. And so they have to wait and see if that thing works before they decide if they want to try your brand. That may be an issue. Or it could be that they're not ready to make that purchase yet. So they're looking for washing machines. They're kind of, okay, so right now I am renovating. I am going to, later this year, I'm going to start renovating my house, right? And so right now what I'm doing is I'm looking for furniture, I'm looking for decor, I'm looking at paint swatches and other things, but I'm not yet ready to buy furniture and do anything. Right now, I'm just gathering information, looking at the things I like, where I can find them, making my list, that kind of thing. That's the consideration stage I am in, right? And so from the consideration stage, I am now moving into the decision-making stage. Like, where am I going to purchase these things? So I'm adding these things to my list on Amazon or going to Pinterest to see styles I like and then trying to see if I can find it on Amazon or all of these places. Because I kind of make up my mind where I'm going to buy the chair from because I've worked out how much it is to buy a couch from Amazon and ship it to Jamaica and realize that it is actually cheaper than buying an actual couch in Jamaica, right? And so this is how a normal person brain works. You're working through different things to come to a decision, but I want you to look at the metrics at each stage of that decision. So when it comes to awareness, you're looking at brand awareness, brand perception, and sentiment. And sentiment is how do they feel about your brand, right? Social reach and engagement, how far or how many people know about you, how are they engaging with you? When it comes to consideration, you're talking about share of voice. And share of voice really just means how big a market you have, how big a social market you have. So if you are a business that is highly visible online, right, and you're competing with other businesses, how much of that engagement do you have? What is the share of engagement and the share of visibility that you have? That's what I mean by share of voice. How loud are you, right? What's your click-through rate? We said that already. Registrants and attendance could be the same as downloads, right? How much people sign up for your email list or register for your course or your free program or whatever. When it comes to purchase now, this is where lead generations come in. It talks about qualified leads, monthly qualified leads, right? Then it talks about lead conversion, so digitally acquired customers. Then when it comes to loyalty, because this is the thing, it is very difficult to acquire a customer because of all of these things you have to do. You have to do marketing and traditional media and social media and PR. And so customer acquisition is high. But but customer retention is cheaper. So it is easier to keep them than to acquire new customers. So a lot of your effort should go into customer retention, renewal, or repurchase rates, right? And then you're starting the cycle all over again with re-advocating for your brand. So you're talking about net promoter score, customer satisfaction and reviews, etc., social proofing, all of that good stuff, right? So kind of this is how you are then looking at the different stages that a buyer will go through and look at what are the best metrics that I can use to decide if I'm on track to realizing these different things. And then these metrics will lead you to then a KPI, because there's a difference between a metric and a KPI, right? And each is based on specific business goals, your strategy, objectives, and even the tactics that you're going to be using, right? So let's look at what are KPIs. And if you have any questions while I'm talking, drop it in the Q&A, because this I know tends to be a little bit of a sticky point for a lot of people, right? What are KPIs? So KPIs is a quantifiable measurement of performance for a specific objective. So it's not necessarily for the entire goal necessarily, but you're looking at each objective and you're looking at the end of this, what am I supposed to achieve? And that's where you set the KPI. The KPI is the thing that you're going to achieve, and it's the metric or the thing that you can measure that tells you if you have achieved it. And this is a key performance flywheel. So it talks about strategizing, measuring, innovating, and propagating. So it's a cycle, right? So to get to your KPI, you have to set specific targets. So you have to say, okay, what is the desired level of performance? Because you can always say, okay, 1,000 DAUs, daily active monthly users, but you know that 1,000 will not convert to the 500, the 10% of 1,000. You know what I mean? Is less than your 500 conversion rate that you want to keep up, right? And so you have to set the desired level of performance and then track your progress against that target. So if the target is 5,000 daily active users, because you know that you can convert 10% of that, which is 500, which is your actual target. Your actual target, is the 500, But in order to get to that 500, you have to have 5,000 daily active users, because that's what the data is telling you, right? That is what sets your level of performance for your KPI, and that is how you are now tracking your target. Because with every person that you're adding to that list of 5,000, you're getting closer to your target of 500. Make sense? Right. Hope it makes sense. So some examples of KPIs is monthly website traffic, or downloads to your app, the number of qualified leads that you are, say for instance, you have an email list, how many people signing up for your email list, your CTA conversion rate. So how much people complete an action, which means that they clicked on your link and signed up for a thing, right? These are very solid KPIs. So while KPIs measures outcomes, because that's what your KPI does, because remember, you're tracking progress to get to a target. So it's measuring the outcome. Metrics are different, because metrics are what you're tracking, the things that you're tracking while you're getting towards that outcome. So it's the intermittent periodic tracking that you're doing to make sure that you're staying on target. And then the KPI is what you're doing to ensure that is what you're measuring to see if you get to that target. I hope that makes sense. So it's like, for instance, you have a at the end of a series of things, you are then measuring to see if you get to the goal. So you're tracking click-through rates, you're tracking engagement, you're tracking your social media growth, right? Those are the metrics that you're tracking, because if you can keep your engagement high, if you're growing your platform, you're going to increase your chances that they're going to click on your link, and you're going to increase the chances that they're going to download, and it's going to increase the chances of daily active users. And then that's going to increase your chances of your 500, which is your target. That's how you are tracking as you go along. And that's the difference between your KPI, which is the outcome, measuring your outcome, and your metrics, which is tracking to see if you can get to that outcome, right? And so metrics are, and if I go back to this, it will make more sense to you. This is really showing you the metrics that you're tracking as you are going along. Nothing in here is a KPI. These are just metrics you're tracking to make sure that you're getting towards that final goal of 500, right? And and that you can have the desired outcome. And when you get to that now, your KPI is the number you are setting. The KPI is the 500 people. That's the target. But these little data points is helping you track to see if you can get to that KPI, get to that target, get to that goal, right? I hope that makes more sense now. I should have just said that in the beginning. All right. And so that's the difference between a metric. Metrics, you check more often. You're tracking as you go along. KPI is that target. And your metrics help you determine if you are closer to that target. All right, guys. So that's I wanted to share that so you could understand metrics and KPIs and SMART goals, right?